Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi everyone. Welcome to the first episode of the Shaherald Ramadan series. And today's topic, we'll be discussing about how do we prepare ourselves for Ramadan. So over here, we have brother Farus, experienced Islam with the Farus. Let me put on his banner for him. Hang on. There you go. And you can see it clearer here. Yeah. But the Farus is all the way from the United States of America, from New York. And he's here to also share with us some beneficial knowledge, inshallah. And we also have brother MENJ from Malaysia, also known as the Muslim apologist. Brother Farus and brother MENJ have their own YouTube channel. So actually, you can check out their YouTube channel too. The Muslim apologist is the name of brother MENJ's channel. And next we have Sister Aisha Rosalie. She's all the way from the UK. Hi, assalamu alaikum. And
Walaikum assalam.
thanks so much for joining us, everyone. Aisha also has her own YouTube channel, guys, so do check it out. That's her name. And tonight we are so blessed to have our brothers and sisters here, not only to celebrate, Ramadan, in the spirit of Ramadan, to talk about this topic, but also to unite all of us Muslims, from different parts of the world to share about this topic. So without much further ado, we'll begin. So brothers and sisters, quick question. Okay, how do you prepare for Ramadan? Okay, but maybe before I begin, just so you know that brother Ferrus previously was also he is a revert. Brother Emmy and J is a born Muslim, and sister Aisha is also a revert. So we have 3 reverts here and 1 born Muslim to share about tonight's topic. Okay, so guys, so how do you prepare for Ramadan? Maybe I shall ask the born Muslim first, since he's more familiar with the religion much longer than all of us. Yeah, but I mean, Jay. So how do you prepare for Ramadan?
Just because I'm a born Muslim doesn't mean that I'm better than any of you, of course. But anyway, in the past, before I became a born again Muslim, as I would like to say, I would probably gosh on food, a lot of food before the start of Ramadan. Probably have a heavy dinner or something. But these days, after my own spiritual awakening, usually I just begin basically tonight I'm just eating this, just just a few chips. I mean, I used to gosh on food a lot, before this. So it's just I'm going to just eat this, and for sahur I probably will just eat a few more and another glass of water, and that's it. And this will last me throughout the day, inshallah. This is how basically I do it.
Okay, alhamdulillah. What
I have
about
a
brother
question.
Ferrus? Oh yes, sister Aisha, what's your question?
Have you tried doing Ramadan like this before, brother? Or is this the first time you're going to be doing Ramadan with just chips?
No, I've been doing this for the past maybe 5 or 6 years. It's something not new to me. It's something that I've been doing for all this while. In fact, I've forgotten when I started it, actually, to be honest. Because I come to the realization that Ramadan is not about gorging on food. It's supposed to be more conscious of your diet, and take the opportunity to reflect, more spiritual, reconnect with your spiritual side, so to speak. And one of them is to control your desire for food. So this is, I believe personally, this is one of the reasons why we go through the fast. Okay.
Alhamdulillah. Well said, brother. What about brother Farus? How you have a question for him, or how do you prepare for Ramadan?
So I would say I'm going to divide that into 2, spiritual and physical. So I think with the spiritual, so I've been Muslim 20 something years at this point, and I, could almost feel like that every, the week before Ramadan, the first week of Ramadan, the second, and then up until the week after, I almost feel like you can just replay the same khutbah from the year before, and then the year before that, and the year before that. So I which is fine, because reminder benefits the believer. But I also sometimes like to learn something new or hear something new. So I try to set a goal to learn something new during Ramadan. So this year, I'm trying to learn the recitation of Khalaf an Hamza. So that's one thing I wanted to do this year, to keep it fresh. Another, I say physically, I try to kind of set a dunya goal as well. I know some people might feel that, it takes away from, the spirituality, but I'm also a realist. I'm a real person living in the real world and not some ideal world. A lot of times people, religious speaker circuits, get into. And so I try to, okay, how could I improve my physical health during Ramadan as well? And I try to set a goal or a pathway for that as well.
Oh, beautiful. So physical and mentally, you prepare yourself. And how long have you been doing this preparation for, like, as a Muslim? Did you change it at all? Previously, was it different?
Oh, I would say I change it up all the time based upon a variety of factors. If it's, how long is the day, right? So if it's like, those short days, there's not as much preparation. Like when, I know my first years, I remember the sun was setting at 4:30, 5 o'clock. Well, I didn't really need to do much to prepare for that. That wasn't much effort. When it's, setting at 7:30,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a little more work. But I think it kind of just happened one year when I lost, a lot of fat during Ramadan, and it just so happened. So that's why I kind of, after that, I said, you know what, like, let me set a physical goal, but I'm not going to say I've done it every year. And I think that the spiritual goal, I actually don't know when that started, but I guess, though, like I said, that, after hearing the same, clip year after year after year, at first when you're new, it's like, oh, and then, but after a while, it's like, okay, I want to learn something new now. And so that, that's kind of how, it was a process, so more than a product.
Cool. All right. Next, I'd like to ask Sister Aisha, how do you prepare for Ramadan?
Well, for me, I'm very German with scheduling. So I did a lot of scheduling to prepare for Ramadan. I've got like a whole schedule going on. But apart from that, I spend a lot of time reflecting. I was listening to a lecture by Abdul Hakim Murad yesterday, actually, and he was talking about Ramadan, and he said that we shouldn't see Ramadan in a secular way. Like every year, Ramadan happens every year. Actually, we should see it like building blocks. So every year we're building one by one, we're becoming better and better. So I was trying to think, like, where was I last year, this Ramadan? How can I make this one better? How can I become a better person? That's what I was really thinking, and building on what the Muslim apologist said. Guys, go and subscribe to him. Building on what he said about food, that's one of my things as well that I really want to focus on, because last year, you know what, I was obsessing over food so much. It was my second Ramadan. The Ramadan before I became Muslim, this was my second Ramadan, was last year. It's my third one, inshallah. And I was really obsessing over food. I was looking at recipes. My husband and I, we were ordering out. Honestly, we were ordering out quite a lot of nights as well. And I was thinking, is this what Ramadan is about? Like, is it about obsessing over food, obsessing over when I'm going to eat, what I'm going to eat? So this year, inshallah, my goal is very similar. It's to really focus on eating not expensively, not lavishly, not lots, also healthily as well. And really not obsessing over food and trying to drop those desires from my life, because it's ego, right? This is what Ramadan is about. It's about fasting from things that we need so that we can come closer to Allah, so that we forget all these dunya worries and that we can actually just focus on getting closer to Allah. So yeah, this is something that I reflected on, and through the reflection I sort of made it my goal this Ramadan, inshallah.
Oh, very well said. You're trying to build a better version of yourself each year. And I think that is everybody's goal also. So I think, yeah, that's a very good way to look at Ramadan. Thanks for sharing, sister. Any questions for you guys, yeah, if any questions for Sister Aisha, just feel free to ask. No problem. All right. Okay, so next, I want to ask you, okay, what were your first challenges as when you first embraced Islam and you have to fast in Ramadan? Can you share a bit of the challenges that you face as a
Is
new
that aimed at me?
Muslim? Yeah, I'll start with you
Okay.
first.
Well, my challenge is my mum when it comes to Ramadan. I don't know what this is like for you, Brother Farouz, but my mum is very against me fasting. Like, she's very against it. She thinks that I'm going to kill myself. She thinks I'm going to die. She just thinks the worst about it. And the first Ramadan that I fasted was a very difficult Ramadan because I technically wasn't Muslim yet because I declared my Shaherald during Ramadan. So I was still looking into Islam. Ramadan was a big deal for me because I did not think that I could do Ramadan. So I thought, if I can do Ramadan, I can be a Muslim. This was like the last step for me. So it was a really big deal. And my mum, when I first started fasting, she was like, if you do this, I don't want you staying in this house. There were so many things she was saying to me at that time while I was living with her. And every day she was trying to offer me food, offer me drink, saying, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And I would explain my point of view, but I was still a new Muslim. I didn't know that much about the religion yet. So I wasn't entirely convincing. And I really upset her a lot that Ramadan. And it was really, really difficult thinking back to it. I still struggle now, don't get me wrong. She still gets really upset when I fast. But I really, really struggled because not only was I trying something for the first time that's not easy, I was also non-Muslim. And I also had my mum trying to force food and drink down my throat every single day. And seeing how much it upset her as well was also really hard for me. And yeah, I mean, that was the hardest thing for me. Honestly, my mum, and seeing how sad that makes her. And I still don't know the right answer to this day. I don't know what the right answer is in that situation, whether I should stop fasting because I'm hurting her. I mean, I never have. I'm still fasting, alhamdulillah. But, as Muslims, we need to take care of our parents. So there's still like a lot to juggle, especially as a revert.
Wow, I think challenge is not only I don't think you're the only person who faced such challenges, but I think the ordeal that you went through, and yet you still stay on the straight path and trying your best to practice the religion, it shows a lot of determination from what I see. Yeah, I think it's really beautiful that you really thought about your mom, how she feels, like how she thinks that she doesn't want her baby girl. Every parent will always see us as their baby in some sense. My parents will say, you're always going to be my baby. And even for my parents, they think that I probably am suffering when I fast. Yeah, even till today. And I think we resonate with that. Yeah. What about Brother Farouz? Do you have challenges yourself? Share some challenges.
Yeah, so I guess I would like to address Aisha's question first. So, so I could relate up to a certain point. Like obviously my mom, my family that didn't want me fasting and tried to tell me how unhealthy it was, and this, that, etc. And but I never got like that level of pressure to what you so and thanks you for sharing emotionally, and in general, we should try to please our parents unless they force us to do. If something's fard or haram, we can't listen to them if they're trying to get us not to do that. But if something is sunnah or makruh, at that point, you can. So if it's a fasting on Ramadan, no, you can't listen. But if she said, I don't want you fasting on Thursday, well, then you can, because it's not a requirement to fast on Thursday. It's just a recommendation. Getting to, my, challenges, I would say that I have certain health, a chronic health problem. And that can either sometimes get better or worse during Ramadan. And I know that, there was a few years where, I talked to a scholar who was actually both a medical doctor and a mujtahid. And, he had told me I didn't have to fast, but and so there were a certain year when I didn't. And, I noticed a spiritual difference like that year by not doing it, even though, physically. I also said my main challenge is trying to balance, health with having kids. And it all it depends upon what age they are. When they're more independent age, then it's not as much of a challenge. When they're, more needy of you, that I find that can be more physically a challenge during Ramadan. Definitely. And then also, I could see that, I see a lot of people during Ramadan, like they become like 200. They're like, 10 percenters outside of Ramadan, and they become like 200 percenters during Ramadan. And, it's like, what are you doing extra this Ramadan? And this really only ends up being a little more than what I do, during the year, as opposed, and see like, wow, I've never seen you in Salat, but all of a sudden you can stand in prayer for 2 hours. And I was like, wow, I wish I could stand in prayer for 2 hours. Like, I don't think I've ever done, or barely ever done the full, 20 rakat tarawih. Like I've done 4 or 8 or usually, as much as I have the energy for. And seeing people like, being able to pull those long hours and stuff, is, I don't want to say you become envious, but I would say, more a good jealousy than a bad jealousy. Like, wishing that, you had that, you can keep up physically.
Mm. Wow, I think your experience is very different from us. I don't think, because I never have a kid at that time. Probably that's you can relate to parents who are Muslims or newborn Muslims or reverts, right? They just want to experience Ramadan, and they still have a family, and they have so many of these little things to manage, and also their own starvation at that point of time when they're fasting. So I guess your experience is probably quite unique on its own. This is the first time I actually heard someone share with me that you have to manage your kids and that stress that you're facing at the same time. Looking at someone who could perform fasting easily, but you've never seen him do it often in the mosque. So that's a very unique experience. So what about brother MENJ? I mean, you're born into the religion. Your parents taught you about Islam. When did you first started? Your parents said, "Okay, you should go and start to fast now." And how did they train you for this?
Yeah, you see, the problem with born Muslims is we always take things for granted. So when I first started my first Ramadan, honestly, I don't remember. It must have been in primary. I think it was in standard 4. That would make me around 10 years old. Yeah, I mean, my parents didn't really say, oh, you must fast today, because today is Ramadan or anything of the sort. I mean, they wanted to ease me into it gradually, but I do remember me volunteering to fast. But at the time, we have this concept among born Muslims in Malaysia. We have this concept called fasting half a day. Okay, for those who are new, so basically you fast until around 12 or 1, and then after 2 o'clock you can start eating. Okay, so this is for new Muslims. I mean, for not new Muslims. I mean, for those, for young Muslims who just started to learn about Ramadan. So I think I went through this. So basically, when I was 10 years old, I went through this. I lasted until maybe 12 or 1 o'clock. And then when I couldn't stand it anymore, then I started to eat and so on. But then the following year, that was when I actually did the actual fast, which is from dawn to dusk, right? So since that point, I've always taken things for granted because I'm 40 plus years old now, and I've been doing this since I was 11 years old. So you can imagine it's a very long time for me. So you take things for granted. And as for the spiritual side of Ramadan, I didn't come to realize it until much later in life. Yeah. So I think this is a problem for all born Muslims. Yeah. Not everyone will come to the same spiritual realization. It comes much later for us born Muslims. I think for reverts, it comes much earlier, way early in their spiritual awakening, which I do envy reverts in that sense. Yeah.
I think it varies also from different reverts. I think it depends on the point of time when you took your shahada, right? Was it truly out of the intention of embracing Islam, or whether you have, you just do it out of marriage first and you'll see how it goes. Some people,
Yeah.
people
I
are
guess
still
I
in
guess it
between
depends on
that phase.
I guess it depends on intention. I mean, why do you become a Muslim, right? Because if
Yeah.
for some people they become Muslim because they really have found the truth, and for those people, yes, they will have an earlier spiritual awakening. But for those, maybe they just for marriage reasons or from some other reason we don't know. So maybe their spiritual awakening comes much later. But overall, I would say reverts have it lucky in that sense. In a way, I mean, I'm
Yes.
just generalizing. Okay, yeah. But for born Muslims, is we take things for granted. Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
Thank you for sharing your such honest opinions, brother. And for me, okay, my story is okay. For me, when I first started fasting, I wasn't a Muslim yet. I really wanted to see if I could do it. Okay. And I also have to try eating halal food at first, which I've never tried at the time. So I reverted in 2014. That is about 8 years ago. And 8 years ago, I would be about 27. Okay, so 27 years old. It's 27 years of eating non-halal food and not fasting my whole life. Suddenly thrown into this fasting season. and I said, okay, if I can do this, then probably the 5 pillars of Islam is no problem. This is probably the hardest of the five, in my opinion. So when I first started out, it's easy in Singapore, at least for me, okay, because when we start work, you know, we don't usually breakfast. For me, we eat something very light, but because I was practicing fasting, I could wake up like 5 in the morning and eat something light, and my parents would not even notice that I didn't have breakfast. Yeah. And for lunch, if I go to work, I would just say I've got a meet up with a friend for a chat, just an hour, but actually I go to the library and sit down. Or I go to Musola and just sit down, and I don't know how to read the Quran at the time, so I would just read the translated version of the Quran. Or I just simply just look at my surroundings and just admire the beauty of what God has created, right? um, and I'll go back, and that's probably, again, we finish work late here for me in Singapore at that time, 7 p.m. So it's already Maghrib by then, around Maghrib time. So when I got home, I'll eat my parents, and they would not notice. So for 30 days, I was fasting, and they didn't know. They didn't know I was fasting at all.
I think you
Yeah,
had it lucky. You had it
very
lucky, and
lucky, right? Yeah.
you took advantage of your situation.
Yeah. But I of course I've not heard of Tarawih at that time. Okay. Because I was just doing the fasting, right? Then after I became a Muslim, then I realized, oh, we still have to do Tarawih. Okay, and I was like, okay, what is Tarawih? I went to the mosque, and I see all the guys standing side by side, and I was standing. Okay, this is Ishak now. Okay, we do Ishak prayers, right? And afterwards, oh, they went on with more verses of the Quran. Okay, so we'll stand longer. Before I know it, I was doing like 24 rakats, 20.
Yeah, okay, must
And
have
then
been must have been a very enlightening experience for you.
okay, it was amazing because, okay, it was like you're listening to the guy recite, the imam recite, the surahs, and it's so beautiful to be among guys, and all of us are just in that tune, and we're closing our eyes and praying and doing the same motion over and over again. And I was thinking, when is this going to end? Okay, but I do enjoy this, but I think it's going to be like 11 p.m. and I need to get home soon.
Yes,
And,
yes.
and so I saw some guys, when I thought that, okay, this is the point I can leave the prayer, because I see people start moving away, and I thought, okay, maybe this is, I can follow them, right? So when I left the congregation, then I met a friend, okay, and he said to me, oh, you don't have to stand for all the the 26 or 28 rakats, you can just do 8, if that's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
minimum you can
yeah.
do.
That's the debate now between whether it's
Yeah,
8 or 20
or
or
8 or
23.
20,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But as a new revert, you even if you stand, 4 times or 4 rakats, no, God was not going to punish you or something. But it was an eye-opening experience, and I didn't know I could stand so long when I haven't been eating for the whole day. Then at night I have to stand so long. But I love the spiritual experience of doing that. And I've subsequently, all 30 days I was performing tarawih in the mosque. And it was like, I don't know, a breath of fresh air. Every time, previously when I was a Christian, it was just church on Sundays, right? And Christmas and Ash Wednesday or something, or Good Friday, something like that. So um it's different. It's totally different when you see everybody gathering for 30 days, in the mosque, breaking fast together with your friends, or even with a stranger in a restaurant, and you look at other Muslims, and we all are like waiting for the alarm, the Maghrib, the sound of the azan, right? And when it goes 3, 2, 1, and there's a azan, and everybody is like, "Oh, there's time to eat." Let's take a quick dua, and let's start eating. And that spirit feels like I'm watching a football match. I don't know why, but it's like we are all getting ready to watch a football match, and now it starts, and everybody's cheering for that time. So it's just a very good spiritual bonding that there is there. Um, well, that is my experience for Ramadan. And how do I prepare Ramadan now? I think we should look at it in 3 ways. One is the physical way of preparing, the mental way, and the spiritual way. Physical way, for new Muslims would do your sunnah fasting. I would say you can prep your stomach first by doing the Mondays and Thursday. When we say sunnah for non-Muslims, it basically means it's the way of the Prophet, peace be upon him. He used to fast every Monday and Thursday, even before Ramadan, and after Ramadan he would do the fasting. So how I can advise you to prepare your Ramadan is to fast on Mondays and Thursdays before Ramadan comes, so your body is like kind of acclimatized to fasting. And like brother MENJ says, you can do half a fast first and slowly start to do a full fast, for people who need more time to prepare. Yeah. Besides that, I would say we should also take note of the different blessings that God give us. Like, fasting is not just limited to what you eat, but also see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. Everything, from your eyesight to what you see. If guys who watch porn, you should stop watching porn. you know, or hear certain things. Or even gossiping, you should reduce that as Muslims on the month of Ramadan. Hopefully, not even gossip at all, and even all the 5 senses. So it's a restriction that we choose to put on ourselves in a way to purify our hearts, to welcome the scriptures of the holy scriptures of the Quran being recited. And mentally, I would prepare myself, by increasing my knowledge also during the month of Ramadan. So, or even starting to memorize more of the Quran or the verses of the Quran. Maybe start with 1 or 2 verses before, and as you enter Ramadan, you do more, and reading more of the chapters of the book. Maybe for previously you read 1 page or 2 pages, right? But now maybe you can start doing 3 or 4 during the month of Ramadan. So Ramadan has a lot of chance for us to enhance our strength, mental strength, our physical strength, and spiritually. I would say recite more of the Quran and get closer to God. Try to understand not just the tafsir, but do a tadabbur also. This is like, try to look at just one verse and look at different perspective of understanding that verse. Get a Islamic teacher to guide you to understand those verses during this time. And I guess that's how I prepare Ramadan every year, and try to do more each time. Even for donation, right? You don't have to just donate at the zakat time. You can donate more and more as you get closer to Ramadan, and by Ramadan you have donated a lot more. Or you can save up until Ramadan, you give one big donation, it's also fine. Yeah. Speaking of donation, we are running a charity, the run also for Aisha. She's also, we'll share the links later, and also a screen share later. Yeah, so basically this is how I prepare for Ramadan. Any questions, guys? Sorry, it's quite long, my conversation.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, I
Mm.
just you just reminded me I need to pay my zakat fitrah. Yeah, I always do. I always pay my zakat fitrah like in the first week or second week of
Mm.
Ramadan usually. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one particular time, there was one particular year where I had forgotten about paying the zakat fitrah, and it was the last day of Ramadan. Yeah. And I
Oh.
was like, I was scampering all over the place looking for the amil, the person who collects the zakat. So it was like it was a very harrowing experience, because you realize, oh dear, I have to pay this before the Ramadan ends. So it took me like about 2-3 hours to find the amil, and then fortunately I found him, and then I managed to pay off the zakat. Oh, that was and then since then I've always made it a point to pay the zakat fitrah at least in the first week or the second week at the most, so that I don't forget again. Yeah.
Mm. Okay, I think I got a question here. Well, one is, now that we have gone through 2 years of this pandemic, has it changed your preparation for the panelists? I'd like to ask you guys, anything different to how you used to spend Ramadan? Maybe we ask Aisha first.
Okay.
Well, I'm a COVID Muslim, so I became Muslim during COVID.
Oh.
So I don't know what it's like being Muslim pre-COVID, because I became Muslim during lockdown, right? So for me, this Ramadan is different because I get to do Taraweeh for the first time. So I did Taraweeh for the first time ever last night, alhamdulillah. That was my first ever Taraweeh. And what you were saying was really interesting, because I related to that so much last night, having my first ever Taraweeh. Honestly, I had no idea what to expect. My husband told me that some people were standing up. I literally had no idea what was going on. I was so confused. And the sisters next to me didn't know what was going on either. So like nobody knew what we were supposed to do. And the sisters next to me were like, we're going to do 20 rakat. But we didn't. We did 8 rakat. So that's what you were mentioning earlier. We did 8 rakat. So we did 4 that were like shorter and then 4 that were longer. And when we were doing the longer ones, I was like, are we doing the whole Quran now? Like, I was really like, I honestly, I thought I was going to pass out. I was like trying to breathe because I just was standing for so long. And then after 8, I was like, okay, we've got another 12 left to go, because I thought we were doing 20, right? I was like, wow, like we're really doing the whole Quran tonight. And then all of a sudden we get up, and out of nowhere, the Imam's like, Qul huwa Allahu ahad. I'm like, this is not Surah Al-Baqarah. Like, I got really confused. I didn't know what was going on. So I realized afterwards we were doing witr. I didn't even know I was doing witr. And I come out and I said to my husband, I was like, that was an amazing experience, but I didn't know what was happening. Like, nobody warned me. Nobody said, by the way, we're doing witr now. Like, I didn't know we'd finished. Everyone started leaving and no one told me we'd finished. I'm waiting to do more rakats. And, like, so it was an amazing experience. But I'm so glad I've got my first one over and done with. So I'm ready for the next one. I'm more prepared now. I know what to expect. But yeah, so that was I don't remember what you asked me because I went off on a tangent about Taraweeh. but
Yeah.
it was amazing.
Oh yeah, you mentioned your COVID revert. So you became a revert during COVID-19. So you couldn't differentiate the difference before COVID. Were there a lot of restrictions in the UK, as in social distancing in the mosque and stuff like that? Do they have it over there?
Yeah, the first Ramadan, mosques were completely closed. There was no mosques open. It was full lockdown. The second Ramadan, most of them were only open to men. And then this Ramadan now they're open to everyone again, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Okay. Do you guys have to wear mask in the mosque in the UK? No. So it was
No,
like that for 2 years. No mask.
yeah, so it's like normal again now, I assume.
Oh, alhamdulillah. Yeah, but we still have to wear masks here. So I guess it's different in that sense. We still have social distancing. No, we don't have anymore. We just recently allow that to stand side by side. What about you, brother Farus? Is it different for you? COVID-19 or before COVID-19?
I would say the one during COVID-19 was very different. It didn't really feel like Ramadan. One thing I've noticed though, like I went to Tarawih last night, and it was like Hajj. I mean, it was, and literally to get from the carpet to the masjid exit took me about, I think, 10 minutes, which is to walk 50 feet. Like that's how many people were there last night. So it was like, I would say the numbers dwindled to nothing during the lockdown Ramadans. And now it seems like they've opened up in a whole other extreme where it's like I've probably seen triple the amount of people that I saw before Ramadan. So it's like it seems like it's went from one extreme to the other in that sense. I think maybe I think the other thing I've also noticed when you talk about actually praying next to each other and stuff like that, it seems like that people are in some sort of hybrid prayer now, and that like so before before the lockdown, everyone, for the most part, used to pray shoulder to shoulder, some foot to foot and shoulder to shoulder, and others would just, shoulder to shoulder. Now it's like, the rows are there, but then there's like, it's not social distance, but so some people are shoulder to shoulder and some people are like a foot between them. And, it's the rows are, imperfect now. And I'm not really sure if that's going to be a permanent challenge or that's something that's going to like eventually go back to, before, or maybe some more balance. I think it's also on the positive side of that, I think it stopped people from arguing over that because, it's more of like a state of confusion now. So we are not required to wear masks. However, like when we were there last night, they said, we would appreciate it if you put on masks, especially with the large numbers of people are there. So, I took one out of my pocket and I put it on, but we weren't required to, but they asked us to. And, but like it was an option, and, but they asked politely. So I just did it. And it was, I saw in the comments about, the different rak'at and tarawih. So the Prophet ﷺ used to pray 8, during his lifetime. When Umar bin al-Khattab made it a congregational prayer, he made it 20 rak'at. And then Umar bin Abdul Aziz, I think it was, who actually made it into 36 rak'at. So, you could actually find, different parts of the world. Some praying in 8, some praying in 20, some praying in 36. So like they might all recite, let's say Jews, the first Jews, but those who do it in 8 rakat will have a longer recitation. Those who do it in 36 will obviously have the shortest recitation. But actually the fiqh opinion that seems to make sense to me the most is that, there's no like written in stone number that has to be, the fact that there was so much flexibility during those early generations, 8, 20, 36, the number is not important. Now I wouldn't go ahead and make up a new number and myself, but like, the ruler of the Muslim world, if they wanted to, establish it on different numbers, it still would be, acceptable within the framework of the fiqh and sharia.
Thanks for sharing that, brother. Yeah, that's one of the things that is very different in different parts of the world. Like you said, the 20 and the 30, and also the 8 raka'ats. And also some people would do tarawih at home instead of the mosque. I think, like if your wife has just given birth and she needs to be with the kid and you need to be there with her at the same time so that you can both manage the child, you would usually do tarawih at home and spend that night with like spend the whole Ramadan at home actually. So actually Islam is quite simple. It's easy for us to practice. It's there are conditions to doing certain things. So all we need to do is increase our knowledge so that we know what conditions we can perform. Okay, so if you could experience one aspect of Ramadan right now, what would it be? What part of Ramadan would you love the most? Maybe brother Emmy and Jay first.
It's hard to say because I would say I love all aspects of Ramadan, but I guess the best part of Ramadan will be the iftar. I mean, you'll be lying if you don't say it's the iftar, right? But it's not about the food. Okay, it's not about the food. It's about okay. It's not about I finish the fast. I can eat and gosh everything I want. No, it's not about that. For me, the reason is the togetherness. Coming together, because on normal days you don't get to come together. For dinner, or you're working and so on. But for Ramadan, because in Malaysia especially, you actually get to leave work usually 1 hour early so that you can prepare for the fast. This is a benefit given to all Muslim employees. So because of that, so everyone comes together. I mean, this is pre-COVID. Everyone comes together and prepare, buying the food, preparing the dishes, etc. So it's the togetherness, it's the sense of belonging, the sense of community. Yeah, if you are at home, and let's say if you break the fast in the mosque, then you will be helping out with the people at the mosque, etc. Yeah, the food is of course a different story. That's not the point I want to say. Like, it's the togetherness, it's the community. I remember when I was in Singapore in 2017, I was working in Singapore for a month, and it so happens that the whole month, it was the month of Ramadan, so I was there in Singapore for the whole month. Okay, and I broke my fast every day at Masjid Darul Aman. It was in Eunos, Jalan Eunos. Okay, so the togetherness was there, and then I could see everyone gathering in preparation for the food, for the iftar, etc. So, and the food was free. Free food all around. So I mean, like I said, the sense of community, the sense of belonging is there. It's not just some free dinner for everyone. No, it's not like that at all. I mean, it's the sense of belonging, the spirituality. And after you have finished the food, you finish the iftar, you prepare for prayers, right, for Maghrib. Yeah, so there's a sense of continuity in the spirituality, and of course after Maghrib you could stay on to the Tarawih, etc. So this is what I find. This is what Ramadan means to me. Yeah.
Beautifully said. All right. For me, one more thing is besides going to the mosque, we do have gatherings also for Tarawih at my friend's house sometimes. We used to gather at his big landed property, which is quite big bungalow, and all of us would gather there for a meal and break our fast together, and we pray Tarawih. So it was like separate from the mosque. We were doing our own community Tarawih, which was also quite special, I would say. That feeling was special. Besides that, okay, of course, food wise, in Singapore, I think in Malaysia you have this too, the Ramadan Bazaar. Basically people start to have
Of
different
course,
types of interesting cuisine, different type of food and delicacies they sell at the stalls. And the moment you step out of the mosque, you can smell the fried stuff in Asia. At least you can smell all the fried fritters. You can smell banana.
yeah.
Fried banana.
This is a culture in Southeast Asia. Yeah, it's in Malaysia,
Yeah,
Indonesia, and
everyone is
Singapore.
like trying
Yeah.
to prove that their food is the best at the time. Yeah,
but this is pre-COVID. I mean, now I don't think we have the bazaars now. We don't have this. I mean, it's all SOPs and so on, so you don't actually experience that anymore. The pre-COVID, yes, this was the
Yes.
scenario at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you go to the mall, you can hear the Hari Raya song. In Asia, we call it Hari Raya, but in the international sense, we say Eid Mubarak. So it's
Yeah.
like the song of Eid. You know, they have this
Yeah.
Malay song, and and
Yeah.
it's playing at the shopping malls, and we will be shopping for clothes to wear at the end of Ramadan. This is Southeast
So
Asia.
yeah,
This,
yeah.
yeah.
This is a very Southeast Asian practice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Southeast Asian
yeah.
practice. But if I can bring back, if there's one aspect of Ramadan I love most, I would say is Laylatul Qadr. The last 10 nights, the power nights, they call it night of power, where
Yeah.
you stand at 3 a.m. Okay, for non-Muslims, you don't know this. We do go to the mosque at 3 a.m. and and you know it's so quiet because of the night, right? And that feeling of, you know, I don't know, it's like you're half tired but you want to be there, and and you're wondering why I'm here at 3 a.m. but you're here, then you remind yourself, oh yeah, I'm here because of, you know, getting the rewards of, hopefully Allah will forgive your sins for how many years is it, for all the years, right? Many years.
I think it's 100 years or 1,000 years. I don't remember.
It's
Yeah, I
around
think 1,000.
80 something. It's 80 something, but it's not an exact number. It's like 80 something in so many months or something like that. Around
Yeah.
83 or 4 though.
Yes.
And it
Yes.
is only going to fall on one of the 10 nights, the last 10 night, one of the last 10 night. And we are all hoping that it's the odd night, or the particular night is the night that we go to the mosque and we pray, and that is that special night. Some people would even take annual leave from work for 10 days just to do this. And they would just do all the 10 nights. And definitely they say, yes, one of the nights is that night where I'm forgiven for all my sins. Right? I mean,
Very interesting.
it was very interesting for me to hear that Laylatul Qadr story. But what I want to say is that experience of just, you know, the quietness in the mosque and centering yourself with God and speaking to Him at, you know, the wee hours of the day, and afterwards, next thing you know, it's subuh already. And people
Yeah.
kind of like eating before subuh, right? The sahur and then subuh. And so that is like a totally unique experience that I've never gone through before becoming Muslim. And when I went through that, it was a very special feeling, yeah. Because when subuh came, the same guys who stand with you at Laylatul Qadr are there. So they greet you again after, and you have a meal with them, and they greet you, and you go on with your day's work, right? So yeah, it's that's what I would want to experience again. That spirit of going to the mosque and do Laylatul Qadr. What about you, brother Faruz?
I'm actually going to lean the same direction as the Muslim apologist, what he said. Though I do have to differentiate between 10 years ago and today, because I do think that back a decade, now we have so many Muslims in around where I live. The community iftars are not as personal as they used to be. Like, when it used to be, let's say 50 people or less, I'm going to say 50 brothers. I don't know how many on the sister side, right? But 50 brothers or less gathering for iftar. You sat down, you got to have conversations, you got to know people. Now it could be, hundreds or over thousands showing up for like community iftar. So it's much more assembly line now. It's like grab, go next. All right, in, sit, out, in. So it doesn't have that personal feel. So I know that was the one thing that I always used to look forward to, but I don't as much anymore, just because, and I do think, let's say it's a good thing now that we have that, many people, right? So more people is a blessing, but it's, it's always, there's that challenge. Like if someone analogy were to move from a small town to a big city, well, in a small town, everyone knows everyone, right? So there's something good to that, a small town feel. There's also some, also that can keep people in line sometimes, because they know if they do something wrong, everyone's going to find out about it. But when you go to the big city, you're just another fish in the pond. And, you know, the personalization of relationships is not as much. You'll have more quantity of relationships, but they won't be as deep and qualitative. So I would say, you know, was definitely along the lines of the Muslim apologist. The other thing I would say is, I would say, the spirit and discipline as well. Like, you can discipline yourself for that month in a way you can't other times of the year. And also the spirit behind it. And when I say spirit, I'm speaking metaphorically, not literally. But there's a general feeling of peace in the air. And I know when I was a Christian, you felt that usually around Christmas and Christmas Eve. You felt a peace, an emotional peace. And when you come to Islam, you know, I would say that you feel an emotional, you know, sense of peace during Ramadan, and then I'd say the Jubilee on Eid, al-Fitr, and also an appreciation. I think an appreciation of food. Like, you know, food tastes better when you've been fasting. And you get to, I would say, enjoy it more, but, you know, and you don't eat as much. I find that, you know, you also, during the year, I think we overvalue food and undervalue fluids. I know I have to flip that during Ramadan, because, you know, you need to make sure you drink more than you eat. And before, you know, when I said, as a Christian, you felt a spirit, and I know some people are, you know, going to misinterpret that. And, you know, as a Muslim, you felt a spirit. It's kind of what I mean by that is the emotional state internally, and emotional state amongst the people around you know, certain times of year, that there is an emotional. And this is something that even certain people, you know, who are atheists, like, they can say they feel that, you know, on, you know, Christmas, if they're in a very Christian country, and they feel that in Ramadan and Eid if they're in a very Muslim location. But, you know, I didn't mean that in a religious context, for, you know, people like to listen literally and, you know, find fault.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, brother. I think what you said is also very amazing, you know, in the sense that we, the food, right, is not just about filling the stomach and to have fluid, you know, instead of the usual, we have, like, you know, carbo or maybe meat focused kind of food. You're talking about having fluid food. Initially, when I first started doing the fasting, I overate. Like, seriously, I overate. I gained some weight even because
Yeah, I can relate to that. I can relate. It is a problem that born Muslims also do.
yeah,
I can totally
even
relate
day
to that.
one, right, when I can break my fast, the moment I can smell some really good food, the first thing I come to mind is, that really enough for my stomach? Should I like eat more? And then I order too much, you know. And then I look at the plate and it's like, oh, that's too much. How am I going to finish this? My stomach actually shrank. I cannot finish this, you know. So now it's like a trick of the mind. You have to tell yourself, okay, that's enough. You should not be ordering more. So it's a lot of practice in that area. And like Brother Farouz said, breakfast is not like heavy stuff. It's like yogurt for me. Some even milk, and you can eat dates, and that's it. And you know, people like we're wondering, are you gonna be full? I mean, like, aren't you gonna be hungry? I mean, that's the whole idea. You're supposed to get hungry. If you're gonna be full, then that's not fasting, right? But that's a trick. You can sleep. If you're tired, just sleep. It will help. Before you know it, time is like, wow, 1 hour has passed. And you rest more during this time. So while people go out for lunch, I would sleep. Yeah, I would suggest sleeping for beginners. Go to a quiet area and take a nap. In an hour's time, you feel more refreshed actually. While people have the food coma after having lunch, you don't have food coma. you, you're wide awake, and your sensitivity is your sense. You can smell really a lot of flavors coming in the air. Of course, not in the office. If someone breaks wind, then it's totally in. Not what you would expect. Sorry, that's a humor there. Okay. What about Sister Aisha? Is there something special that you like about Ramadan?
Yeah, I mean, I think building on what Brother Farouz said, actually, when he mentioned determination and self control, it kind of reminded me of something. It made me think a lot about how Ramadan, we are building self control. We are building parts of ourselves that are very positive parts of ourselves that if we can master, that we can achieve so many things, alhamdulillah. And the self control part of it is very important. And I was thinking about how when I first became Muslim, I was really nervous to fast in Ramadan because I come from a background of eating disorders, body dysphoria, what so many people go through nowadays of constantly dieting, constantly thinking you're fat. I used to do things like I used to chew food and spit it out. I used to take laxatives, like so many things I used to do before I became Muslim to try and like really control over my diet. And when I really think about it, even though so much of my time was wasted on trying to achieve this like perfect body type or whatever before I became Muslim, I never had the self control to fast the way Muslims fast in Ramadan. Even though it was such a big priority of mine that I was willing to risk my health, I could not do fasting 14 hours a day for 30 days like what we do in Ramadan. I didn't have the self control to do that. And I sometimes wonder, why is that? Why is it now that I can fast for 30 days, but before I wasn't able to do that? And I think it's honestly about intention. And I think if you do things for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with pure intentions, Allah makes you able to do things that you couldn't even imagine doing. Allah can make you do things, amazing things. If your intention is not good, if your intention is egotistical, if it's vanity, then you just, no matter how hard you try, you just can't do it. And that's what it was before when I was trying to fix my body or whatever it is I was trying to do, take control over my diet. I was trying to do something and I wasn't getting any results because I was just doing crazy things with my body. But now I can actually fast and it's not too difficult. It's not as difficult as it would have been when I was non-Muslim, when I was trying to do intermittent fasting. That was difficult and it's nothing like Ramadan, by the way. Intermittent fasting is super easy if you think about it compared to Ramadan, but it wasn't easy at the time. So because of the intention, honestly, it means so much. But this isn't my favorite part of Ramadan. My favorite part of Ramadan is the moment before iftar, because it's that feeling of hope. And hope and faith are two huge driving forces in our lives that really get us through our days, that get us feeling good feelings. And that moment of hope, that moment when you're sitting there and you're thinking to yourself, if you take time out in that moment, which I like to do, thinking, wow, like I did this, and then looking forward to what's about to happen. Like I find that moment is more fulfilling than actually eating the food. The moment right before you're about to eat the food, you're happier and more content than when you're actually eating the food. That's what I always find. And a good friend of mine who became famous, he told me that the journey up to becoming famous was the good part. Once he became famous and reached the goal that he was trying to achieve, it wasn't fun anymore. It was too easy. And I think that's part of it. It's the moment building up to it. That's the fun part. When you're filled with hope and excitement, that's the fun part. When you get it, it's never as good as you think it's going to be. So for me, it's that moment before iftar when you can really sit and think about what you've done, how grateful you are, and what the next moment's going to be.
Wow, that's really beautifully said. To build on what you just said about intention, right? I know some of my friends who are not Muslim who are interested to try fasting, but they did tell me that it's mainly to lose weight. And I said, okay, never mind, it's fine. You want to do that, you can try it with the intention. But I don't think you can last that long if you have the intention, because we don't not only not eat, we don't drink, during that whole fasting time. So when I first know about fasting, I also was surprised. Oh, you don't drink at all? I thought just don't eat. So don't drink and don't eat for that 14 hours or so. So it's like, if you have the wrong intention, you're not gonna get through this marathon for 30 days. And so, like what you say, sister, I think it's the intention is you have to have the right intention. And also, it's like, when you talk about that moment of the process of experiencing Ramadan is much more beautiful than after it's over. It's like chasing a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, right? The process of going for that chase is beautiful. And when you're there, you realize it's just conflicts. They say it's not gold at all. So I in everything we do in life, I believe the process itself, it's way more beautiful than having done it already. Yeah, I think very beautifully said. So, okay, we're coming to the end of tonight's show. But before we go to the end, we just share with you some of the charity runs that we are helping with. So, Sister Aisha will have this charity run. I'm going to share my screen right now. Where's
Should
the
I speak
window?
about it quickly?
Yes, please go ahead. While I find your screen. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'm raising to build an orphanage in Pakistan, inshallah. There's going to be one of the biggest orphanages ever existed in Pakistan. It's the Manaj Orphan Care Complex. It's an amazing charity. The 100% donation policy. It's eligible, alhamdulillah. Yeah. So I only started doing it today. I'm really excited to do it because my first Sadaqah Al Jariyah project. So every single brick that's getting built because of your donations, it's going to be part of the orphanage where these orphans are going to be coming and living, having education. They're going to be praying. There's going to be so much going on there for them. It's my first Sadaqah Al Jariyah cause, and I'm really excited to partner with this charity. And yeah, if you want to have some Sadaqah Al Jariyah going, speaking for you after you pass away, and carrying on after you pass away, then this is a really good cause, inshallah.
Inshallah. And you'll find her link to the donation site on her Instagram. You can add. You can go to Aisha Rosalie on Instagram. I think she has it on her bio, or I can paste it right down here on the chat. You can go to this link and check out the donation site. Yeah, and if you wish to donate. Apart from that, we're also donating to feed the orphans in Cambodia. Let me share my slides. Mhm. Sorry, one moment. Okay, here we go. Wait, it's processing. Okay, here we go. Yeah. Okay, so orphans in Cambodia. Brother Rizwan is now, I think he's there already. But with the funds collected, you will be able to feed the poor there and the orphans in Cambodia and build a well as well. So let me show you, not just one well, sorry. Okay, so this is some of the photos taken last year. And no, the year before, because COVID-19 was, they couldn't go there, but now they can. And these are the orphans that they were fed there. These are not orphans, but basically they are the poor in Cambodia. So Brother Rizwan will be giving to each family 1 kilogram of beef, and also 150 families. Each of them will get a pack of food pack each. In the food pack, you get canned goods, you get rice, mineral water, tea, condensed milk, and basic necessities. The money also will go to build 3 to 4 water wells in Cambodia. So you're basically paying for the well, and people keep drinking from the water, so you get the rewards from there. 110 orphans will also receive iftar meals to break their fast during the month of Ramadan. So if you wish to donate, the details are here below. You can find it on my Instagram as well. I put it on the post. And yeah, feel free to donate during this blessed month of Ramadan. Be generous. And what we have for the next stream. So this Ramadan series, we're going to run it every other day. And so the next episode is going to be Brother Adnan, who is formerly a Hindu, and who will be sharing his. Oh, sorry, I didn't. I was moving the slide on my side, but it didn't change. I didn't know that. Okay, sorry. Yeah. So yeah, this is the Brother Adnan, who he's formerly a Hindu. He turned free thinker and he embraced Islam in 2015. So inshallah, we'll get to hear his story on Monday. So without much further ado, I think we've come to the end for tonight's stream. Thank you to all the panelists who shared such beautiful tips and advices for our dear brothers and sisters here tonight, and especially the story of how you experienced Ramadan when you first became a Muslim. I think it's very unique for each and every one of us. And to our dear brothers and sisters, Ramadan Mubarak, and to you guys as well. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much.
Assalamu alaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi.